By the way, happy holidays, everyone. These days, you don't need an excuse to have a little get-together at your place. You want to watch the big game or a New Year's party? Whatever. Stock your party with drinks from Drizzly, the go-to app for drink delivery. Download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com. You can schedule drinks to be delivered up to 2 weeks in advance or in as little as 60 minutes. Plus, Drizzly helps you save dough by comparing prices on a huge selection of beer, wine, and spirits from local stores. So grab that to-do list of yours and cross out, go to the liquor store. Download the Drizzly app today or go to drizzly.com. Again, DRIZLY.com. No more going on beer runs or stressing out about finding a particular bottle of wine. Download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com, the go-to app for alcohol delivery. Must be 21, not available in all locations.
The Podcast Playground. Hooray!
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, give a 5-star rating, and leave a review. Check out all our past episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you pod. What if these celebrities weren't famous? What would they have become? What was their first job? We're about to find out.
It's now become a tradition on July 4th on ESPN, the Nathan's Famous International Hot Dog Eating Contest, the Super Bowl of competitive eating. And I'm sure you know the name Joey Chestnut, who's been the champ for I can't tell you how many years in a row now. He eats between 65 and 75 hot dogs every year. But the women's champion, don't know much about her until this past year. And the world was introduced to Miki Sudo. She is our guest this week on Celebrity Jobber. Congratulations. I mean, this is kind of a big deal, I would say, because I think this is the first year that maybe I have become aware of you, but I think for some reason the world is, kind of become aware of you much more, say, this year than previously.
Yeah, it's interesting because, this was my 9th belt. It's my 10th year on the Nathan stage. I basically started doing the hot dog eating contest when I joined the professional circuit. But, because the women's contest is not broadcast in its entirety on ESPN, I think, I've kind of managed to fly under the radar. It's funny because, luckily for us, not so luckily for pretty much everyone else, the weather delays pushed everything back and kind of opened an opportunity for the women's contest to be broadcast.
Oh.
The only other time that this has happened in the 10 years that I've been doing this, actually the only other time this has ever been done with the women's contest was in 2020 when we had that socially distanced, socially distanced event without a crowd. It's interesting. So it takes kind of a big curveball to get us on TV, and I understand, there are reasons for that. But it definitely helps me reach a wider audience, and for that, I'm really thankful.
Okay, so that really kind of puts it together for me now. So the women's hot dog eating championship, not televised. It's just, usually Joey Chestnut and him eating 70 hot dogs. But because of the rain delay this year, you got on TV, and that's where this whole thing is kind of blown up. Has your life changed in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, it's kind of. I do feel like there's a little bit more. There's a little spike in people reaching out. It's all kind of a blur. I always do a lot of media leading up to Nathan's and afterwards. But yeah, you're right, and especially from the Tampa Bay area community. It's hard for me to isolate whether that's because we were on TV or because Tampa's just a Tampa likes to back their own. So, this whole, since moving here, everybody's been incredibly receptive and super supportive. So, I'm like, is it Florida? Is it because we're on TV? It's hard to separate. But, this year's definitely been a little bit busier.
Tell me what it is about Tampa and professional eating, because as I'm watching this, it seems like there is a odd number of people from this area, from the Tampa Bay area, involved in competitive eating. Am I crazy?
I guess disproportionately so. When I think about, Joey represents Indiana now. Jeff Esper, who's second, is from Massachusetts. Yeah, Nick and I are both from Tampa. Obviously, for your listeners who aren't familiar, Nick Weary is ranked number 4 with Major League Eating overall, and he actually just hit a personal record with 45 hot dogs and buns in this past competition. So you've got 2 of them right in our household. So we kind of skew those numbers. But you also have Bartley Weaver, professional bodybuilder who lives in South Tampa, a good friend of ours. Also, put up a high number this year. So I think Florida in general kind of lends itself to people pushing their limits, exploring fun, new, crazy things, the kind of that competitive drive. So it's cool to see Florida represented.
So you mentioned, is it your husband? Is Nick Weary your husband? Is he your boyfriend?
Yeah, I guess technically he's my fiance still. He proposed. He proposed after eating 50 hard-boiled eggs at one of our contests.
What a gentleman.
Romantic. I'll never look at hard-boiled eggs the same. We're trying to figure out how we want to, go about taking the next steps. But, we've been together for 4 years now. We've got a 2-year-old son together. So, we just have to get there and file that paperwork, I guess.
What a power couple in the world of professional eaters. So, obviously, you met while working, correct?
Yeah, so we actually met. I like to tell people we actually met at the gym. We were working out because we're, it's got a different ring to it than the hot dog eating contest. But actually, we met at the gym the morning of the hot dog eating contest. Major League Eating puts us up at the same hotel. I was doing my 4 a.m. cardio, and I ran into the only other person who decided to get a workout in before ramming hot dogs down their face. And that was Nick. And I just decided to be friendly, and I said hi. And it wasn't until about a year later, one of our mutual friends kind of said, you two should talk. You have a lot in common beyond eating. And I don't think either of us was interested in pursuing a relationship. I know I wasn't, but, the more I got to know him, I did realize he's a great dad. He's super family-oriented. He's passionate about travel. He's incredibly hardworking. So, and honestly, our regular day-to-day diets are the same. So even if down the road we were to move in together, I would always have my 30-calorie almond milk. I would always have my non-fat Greek yogurt and chicken breast and whatever. So we had a lot of weird quirks in common, too.
So, Miki, how the hell did a girl like you, and when I say a girl like you, people, if you're not familiar with Miki Sudo, I want you to Google her right now. You can see a picture of her, on the little picture on the Celebrity Jobber podcast.
There's horrible pictures out there, too, though.
Oh, but I'm telling you, you are not what I would expect a female professional eater that just put down 40 hot dogs at the Nathan's, hot dog eating contest. You do not look, I'm not trying to judge, but I'm just saying you don't look like a professional eater. So how did this happen?
So it kind of, I hate to say by accident, because, maybe there are no accidents, but it really stemmed from, one, I do love food. But a love for food is not going to make you a top-ranked competitive eater. It's like, you might love driving, or you might love whatever it is, but doing something at the pro level is entirely different. It was really my adventurous spirit and that willingness to try new stuff, I guess, that made me cross paths with competitive eating. So to make a long story short, some of my friends had attempted a 12-pound Vietnamese noodle soup challenge. It was back when Man vs. Food was kind of at the height of this broadcasting.
Right.
Yeah, and so there are restaurants offering, in this case it was $1,500 if you could finish a 12-pound bowl of pho. And, they did it more for, like, Instagram reasons. But I saw those pictures and I'm like, I think I can do that. And now I was just about to graduate from college, I think. And, $1,500 is nothing to sneeze at, but especially, like, I'm a college kid. This can pay my rent,
sure,
and insurance, and and I just thought it was a sweet deal. Let me try. So I did that, and I kind of plugged along, and I slowly but surely completed that challenge. And they put me up on a billboard right off the Las Vegas Strip. I lived in Vegas for about 10 years. And I started getting these requests to do more challenges. And, I'm like, why not? And it kind of snowballed because because I was willing to. And I enjoyed early success. But when I realized there was a competitive circuit, I'm extremely competitive. I did some research on the numbers that other women do, and even some of the men do. And I figured, I at least won't be dead last. So I gave it a shot, and I was the top-ranked female within the first 3 ranks.
That's incredible. So where were you? You said you were a college student when you did your first, official challenge, when you ate that 12-pound bowl of noodles. But so you're a college student at that time. What did you go to college for, and what did you think you were going to become? Because I'm sure you didn't go to college thinking you were going to become a competitive eater.
If I were to go back, I'm about to turn 38. If I were to go back 2 decades, I'd do a lot of things differently. But then again, what I did kind of led me to enjoy this pretty cool life. So, I went to high school in California, right in the Bay Area, and I was really determined to go to college in New York. So I put in a handful of applications, and I ended up going to Fordham University in the Bronx. I could skip over this, but basically my mom got sick. I helped her move, this, that, and the other. I ended up in Hawaii. And when it kind of finally came time to re-enroll in school, UNLV, or I guess Nevada and Hawaii, happened to have a mutual scholarship opportunity where they give each other in-state tuition under a certain clause. And anyway, I just figured Las Vegas, why not? And I'm going to pick up where I left off, kind of, and I'll stick with business. But my plans all along were to go to law school. But it's just straight out of college at 18 when I had funding and scholarships. That's a little bit different than paying rent on my own and kind of juggling life and a job. And I think my goal at that point was just to graduate. So I graduated with an international business degree. The concentration that I picked was actually business law. But UNLV did something where they scaled back the classes that I needed. I don't know. They've got a great business or great law school from what I remember, but they cut back the undergrad law program. Long, boring story short, I ended up with an international business degree with a concentration in finance.
Wow.
I took an entry-level job, actually helping with it was almost like digital marketing. Before that was even really a career. So I joined a company, entry-level position, but then I started doing challenges, and I kind of had to choose between pursuing that and this.
Yeah, and I would say you probably made the right choice. So
at that point I was brand new. I just figured, if the competitive eating thing, it's not like it was ever supposed to be a career, but I want the flexibility to take weekends off. I don't want to be on call all the time. I want to be able to work somewhere and then also have a nice little healthy balance with my social life or regular life, so to speak. And basically, that's kind of when I had to make that decision between going to contests and keeping this job. I decided to step down. And yeah, I would say I'm pretty blessed because that's one of the things that I love the most about what I do. Now instead of making my baby fit into my competitive eating lifestyle, I'm able to mold my competitive eating schedule around my child and around my relationship and my family and my other commitments. So I have a good amount of flexibility to spend time with my family and travel and
So you grew up in California. What did your mom and dad do for work?
So actually, I was born in New York and I grew up in Japan.
Wow.
So
okay.
Super like we could be all day. When people ask me where I'm from, I don't know is the short answer. But yeah, my parents met in New York, and when I was 4, my family relocated to Japan. My dad's Japanese from Japan, so it just they decided to make that move. And I grew up speaking Japanese, and when I was 11, my parents separated, and we came back to America and actually ended up in Hawaii. My mom's reasoning being my sister and I were not very comfortable speaking English.
Okay.
So with Hawaii's large Japanese population, she figured that would be the easiest transition.
Right.
At least easier than moving to like a normal Illinois or
Midwest, like sure.
Somewhere, anywhere else. So yeah, that's kind of how we ended up there. And my mom was let's see. My parents met working at the same travel agency. My mom taught English in Japan, and when we came back to America, she started up probably doing like a minimum wage job in tech support.
Okay.
Which was, I mean, even to this day, it's probably not like a female-dominated field, but I mean, especially back in like 95, 96, women leading the tech support team was kind of rare, but she kind of just kept moving up. And she ended up, her last job was at Apple Computer headquarters in Cupertino.
Right.
And she was, I don't know her official title, but she like curated the content for the QuickTime division. Back when that was a thing. But,
okay.
Yeah, she kind of had like a pretty important job.
Yeah.
But I mean, from like tech support minimum wage to like, one infinite loop in Cupertino, like, she really like made her mark, and it's super inspiring to watch growing up.
Absolutely. And your dad, what type of work did he do?
Let's see. In Japan, he worked in medical equipment sales.
Okay.
And I think he always did some form of translation work.
Okay. So was that any type of inspiration, like growing up, where you're like, hey, look, mom and dad both can, speak two languages, maybe, there's money to be made by doing that. So, maybe you're going into the business world, you know how to speak Japanese and English. I mean, you're probably, pretty much set with a great career.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I never looked at it that way. I'm working really hard to raise our son bilingual. It's got its challenges, but I think it's always going to be a strength to have more knowledge, more languages, more strengths under your belt. But I never really thought, I'm bilingual, so I can, kick back and rest on that. I think, all that really sticks out to me is that growing up, my mom didn't make excuses about, being the only woman in a certain industry or, being a single parent and things being tough. My mom wasn't really one to make excuses. She saw challenges as opportunities to really set herself aside from the rest. And, whether I knew it or not, I think I took on some of those qualities.
So who did you get your love of eating from, Miki?
I think that's a combination of my mom and my dad. We traveled a lot. So, just one way of showing respect was to try, the hosting culture's food.
Sure.
So whether we were in Singapore or Korea or, wherever, it was just kind of like a sign of respect. So I think I grew up with a very, adventurous palate, I guess.
Okay.
And it just kind of led me to appreciate food and that. And, really early on, I waited tables and I just, kind of saw like the passion and the seriousness with which, some of the kitchen guys took their craft.
Do you remember your very first job, what that was?
My very first job would have been under the table. I was working at a health food store back in Hawaii. My first paid W-2 type of job, I think was, I'm trying to think if there was anything earlier.
Don't worry, I'm not going to turn you into the IRS for the under the table job.
I was like 13, I think, when I had my first job, and the lady hired me to do like this fancy, colorful menu boards with chalk and whatever. My first legitimate job I think was I was 15 and worked at Baskin Robbins.
Okay.
Briefly. And if I remember correctly, George Costanza told me that he worked at Baskin Robbins too. I mean, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure I remember him saying that. So it's like a lot of interesting people have gotten their start at BR. But the first one that kind of gave me a good deal of discipline was the Cheesecake Factory.
Okay.
Their training is serious. And to me, like, even, I continued to wait tables for, a good deal afterwards. But I think at 18, I took a job at the Cheesecake Factory, and it's like classroom style learning, 9 to 5, memorizing menu items and steps of service and stuff like that. So, well,
I'm starting to see the connection here. The Cheesecake Factory, Baskin Robbins. It looked like you kind of things went in the right direction for you, Miki.
I guess so. I mean, I will say though that after about a week of Baskin Robbins, the novelty of ice cream wore off.
Yeah, I bet. I'm sure it did.
eat as much as you want. Oh no, it's
What do you think? Maybe it was just a couple of weeks ago. Maybe we haven't really even got there yet, but can you think of like your big break? What was it? Was there a particular contest? Because by the way, not only has Miki won the Nathan's hot dog eating challenge, is it 8 times?
I just collected my 9th belt, actually.
9 times. So she's won that 9 times. She's also, a professional eater and has, she's got hundreds of food challenge wins internationally. So is there some particular challenge or a contest or something? Maybe you won the most money or you got the most notoriety, but was there a big break that you can kind of think about that got you to where you are today?
I don't know if it kind of happened, without me realizing. I think when I realized, I can just do this and let this be my job for now. Obviously, I want to continue to grow and learn, and I have goals for the future. But when I realized, I don't need to actually juggle, a job that I'm not passionate about with competitive eating. This is enough, and anything else that I do, whether it be charity work or working, is just kind of like for enrichment or fun. Because don't get me wrong, there's a lot of quote unquote work that goes into this beyond the 10 minutes that you see on stage.
I'm sure.
Because I take it seriously. Obviously, our events are marketing tools for these food service brands. We are entertainment. My job is to make people smile and, keep them happy for 30 minutes or so. But as a competitor, I take that very seriously. And also I understand that to a degree, I'm representing that brand. In the case of the July 4th event, I'm kind of there as a Nathan's ambassador. With that said, my first challenge always sticks out to me because that's when I was so self-conscious. I was so nervous walking into my first ever head-to-head challenge. I almost talked myself out of it. But I decided to go through with it. And
what was it? What was your first head-to-head challenge?
Yeah, so it was ribs. It was baby back ribs, and this was back in Las Vegas. Because I had done a handful of the, the man versus food type of challenges, like we talked about. But competing head-to-head is a little bit different because you don't know how much you're going to have to eat. You don't know how fast you're going to have to eat in order to just not come in dead last. The way food challenges work are you have 7, 8, 12 pounds of whatever, and you have to finish it within a certain amount of time, and you either fail or you complete it.
Right.
But yeah, this is, that voice in my head was just telling me, you don't belong here. Other people know what they're doing. You're a newbie. You're a fraud. You're not good enough. You're one of only, 3 women in a field of 37. You don't belong here, and everybody's laughing at you. Is basically what I'm telling myself this whole time.
Right.
My friend my friend Lee was holding my hand, while I'm shaking, to go sign in or whatever. And long story short, and not only did I win my heat against, semi-pros, I won the whole thing. And, it was just kind of I pushed those boundaries of my own comfort zone. I came out the other end, realizing I'm a little bit stronger, and I had more confidence, and I never looked back. I really don't let myself talk myself out of things just because I'm self-conscious or shy anymore.
Well, I kind of have a feeling that even though you consider that your big break up to this point, I kind of have a feeling that we just witnessed another maybe big break in the world of Miki Sudo at the Nathan's hot dog eating contest that was, televised on ESPN, and now people know who you are. They've seen your face. I kind of think maybe you haven't gotten the dividends all the way off of that, but I have a feeling you're going to kind of see a lot more because of that.
That would be great. I mean, because that would be the dream. While I love competing, people ask me how long I plan to do this, and my answer is for as long as it's fun and makes sense. But of course, it'd be great to just, if somehow my name built up built up to the level of Joey's, and somebody invited me to go, I don't know, host a show or co-host a season of a travel food blogger show or something like that. I mean, that'd be amazing because then it's, you get to just be you as a living. And I think I'm very close to that, but,
I think so.
We'll see what the future holds.
Well, I think if I didn't ask this question, everybody would be pissed off, and I don't want to upset you, but I have to know, because the biggest question in my mind when it comes to somebody eating 40 hot dogs or whatever, you ate 39 and a half, I believe. I mean, Joey Chestnut eats 65 or 70. I got to know, and I think everybody just can't ask the question, but I'm going to ask. What happens after you eat all those hot dogs? Can you tell me, do you go to the bathroom? Do you throw up? Do you really, take a giant hot dog dump? I mean, what happens after?
Well, I mean, it's funny because Pepsid was a sponsor this year, which was just perfect. But I mean, no matter what you do or take or all that, I mean, you're going to feel uncomfortable. I mean, the one tiny little silver lining to only eating 40 hot dogs this year is that I didn't feel my worst. Actually felt pretty fine. I say it's bad in the sense that I had room for more. I ran out of time before I ran out of space, and that's I have bigger numbers than me. So it's really frustrating from a competitor standpoint. But obviously, in the recovery aspect, that's much easier. So immediately afterwards, I get whisked to stage right. I do a bunch of interviews. People start asking me if I need anything. All I want is a cold bottle of water, and then about 5 more. So I'm downing fluid. Because it's hot, I'm dehydrated.
Sure.
So I get more full that way. I eventually make it back to. I mean, honestly, this year what happened was with the weather delays, I was just checking on Max. Extended the babysitter's stay, and then eventually I got to watch the men's contest. But I was at Coney Island until about 4:00. I want to say. Eventually, you get back in a car in air conditioning, and you go back to the hotel. But, so people always ask about the bathroom. Food doesn't move that fast. Whether you eat one hot dog or 41 hot dogs. If people really want to know, I would suggest them just try it and find out. There's a lot more foam than you might think.
Really?
It's not pretty, but thankfully I only share a room with my son and Nick, so I don't have to be so.
So you're telling me that you naturally pass the thousands and thousands of calories. You don't try to make yourself throw up, because I would honestly think all of that going through the intestines have to do some damage. I mean, that's a ton of food.
I mean, I definitely wouldn't do it every day.
Right.
But with that said, I do get doctor checkups pretty frequently. And I think, not saying like the lesser of two evils, but I feel like I eat healthy. I eat healthier than a lot of the population for most of the time. And then, a few times a year, I'll do hot dog practice and then I compete. So I don't know. I'd like to think that balancing it out has allowed me to kind of minimize the effects. My blood work always comes back good. So Joey Chestnut honestly is kind of my guinea pig, because he started years before me. He's 2 years older than me, and he has unfortunately doubled my hot dog numbers in some years. So as long as he's fine, I'm probably okay.
Man, I would imagine that you have to keep up on, blood work and stuff like that. And yes, if you had 40 hot dogs every day, I mean, that wouldn't be sustainable for sure. But I know when I have a big greasy meal or just something that's not good for me, I could tell you that it's uncomfortable, and I'm running to the bathroom. I probably have something wrong with me, but I'm like 40 hot dogs. Oh my God, this girl, she can't be more than, how much do you weigh, if you don't mind me asking? 120?
So, no, I think somewhere along the lines, my weight numbers got crossed with Michelle Lesko's, but she's literally 5'1". She's a girl who was eating to my left, but I'm 5'7.5", and normally I'm about 140 pounds. Come Nathan's time, I think I competed at 132.
132.
So I'll drop a little bit of weight to be, a little bit lighter, a little more lean. But yeah, I fluctuate throughout the year. And, I guess I could only liken it to, like, some people overeat, or a lot of people overeat, Thanksgiving time or over the holidays in general.
Right.
So if you kind of just think, like, if you've been uncomfortable in that way, you probably kind of have an idea what I feel like.
Right.
I don't know what, those bathroom situations are like. When Thanksgiving comes around, Nick and I have to we're like hyper aware that our families are looking at us, or if we're with friends, or, everybody is like, how many plates are they going to eat? Is there going to be anything left? So it's like we just eat normal portions. So, but yeah, if you've been uncomfortable after Thanksgiving, it's probably like that.
Probably the same type of thing. Wow. Yeah. And
I want to say about 4 days, maybe until 3 to 4 days, it feels like my whole midsection's a little bit bruised. Like every little muscle fiber in my body is kind of stretched and back. And yeah, I've kind of been I've had a billion little micro punches in the stomach.
Oh man! And you said about 4 days it takes
to get back to completely normal.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, too, if I know that I'm going to go out somewhere and have a big meal, I starve myself throughout the day. But obviously, that's not a good way to do it, because when you do that, you only eat a half of what you thought you were going to be able to do. So training for something like this, how do you can't be completely famished going into this, correct?
Yeah, I don't know if there's any truth to, your stomach shrinking back down. I don't think that's going to happen a day or two. But what I find is that if I'm completely if I've fasted for too long, I just don't have the energy to fight through 10 minutes, especially in the New York summer heat and humidity. Forget about it. I'm winded after 2 minutes.
Right.
So I can't go in completely. There's that sweet spot between, being hungry and empty to make room, and just, but you still need that energy to carry you through, exerting all that energy. So I think, practices, what I need to do looking to 2024 is I need to do more practices that focus on combating flavor fatigue, because I know I have the space. I just run out of time because basically my taste buds are fighting it. It's I don't want to eat this anymore.
Right.
It's just I love Nathan's hot dogs, but nobody's eating soggy buns dipped in Crystal Light by choice.
Right.
That's just not how you enjoy hot dogs. So I need to use my practices, not so much for capacity moving forward, but really, or even technique. Technique I can correct over the course of 10 minutes. I need to work on my flavor fatigue, because ultimately that's what set me back.
What is it about dipping the buns in the liquid?
It's just a lot faster.
Oh, okay. It's just faster.
Yeah, exactly. So a lubricated bun that you can imagine what kind of texture that takes on is easy to swallow whole without chewing once. So
Got it.
Dip it in water, let it semi-saturate. I like to rip them in half and create two little bun balls. I pop those into the back of my mouth and I don't chew once. So that helps that. So yeah.
Wow, she is the greatest female competitive eater and one of the world's best competitive eaters, male or female. The hot dog eating champion, and she holds hundreds of food challenge wins internationally. So great talking to you, and I really do appreciate the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you to all your listeners. If they want to find out more about me, everything's available at thehungrycouple.com, or Twitter and Instagram, or Threads, I guess now, is OMG, oh my God, ITS. It's MIKI.
Congratulations again.
Thanks so much. Take care.
There you go. It's kind of funny. How does one get into competitive eating? You don't go to college and major in dessert. So, again, business seemed to be the path that Miki was going to take, and that led her to law. She thought she was going to have a law degree and be a lawyer. But, yes, her very first competitive eating challenge, I guess, was the big break that she had that basically said to her, wow, I can make a living out of eating. And to be honest with you, I still think her real big break just happened a few weeks ago when the Coney Island Nathan's hot dog eating challenge on the 4th of July. It was bad weather. The event got delayed, but the weather cleared up, and ESPN actually aired the end of the women's contest. And that's where everybody saw Miki for the first time. And it's like, wow, she's not a very big girl. And, she wears makeup. She's kind of cute. Doesn't look like a woman that would just choke down 40 hot dogs. But she is. And the greatest woman's competitive eater in the world. And her first job was in the world of ice cream at Baskin-Robbins. Joins other celebrity jobbers with their first job being in ice cream. Last week's guest, Jay Chandrasekhar, from the movie Super Troopers, was a good humor man. And of course, billionaire investor, star of ABC's The Shark Tank, Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary, started off as an ice cream scooper. Thanks so much for listening. If you like this podcast, please give us a 5-star rating. We'd love if you could leave a review. Stream us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you pod. Past episodes you can check out up on celebrityjobber.com, and you can follow us on Instagram at Celebrity Jobber Podcast. It's another episode in the books. As always, thanks for listening. See you next week. I'm Jeff Zito.